All right, so the first question I'm going to ask is how would you describe what it was like playing field hockey at a Big Ten university?
Um, well, the first thing, um, I came from New Jersey, so starting out at Michigan State, there were a lot of people that were out of state on our team, so it was pretty comfortable um, starting playing because there were a lot of us in the same boat, so that was good. Um, Competition was probably the hardest thing to deal with because you came from a high school where you were probably one of the top one or two athletes, and when you joined the Michigan State team, everybody was the top athletes. So that was probably the toughest thing to have to deal with. But
Okay.
um, yeah,
All right. So then on your field hockey team, what would you say the majority, like where would you say the majority of your teammates came from background wise? Like were they middle class, upper middle class, like or was it evenly distributed between lower middle and higher upper? What would you?
yeah. I think our team. Now you have to remember this was 1980.
Mm-hmm.
1976 was my freshman year. Um, Most of our team, like 90% of our team, was out of state. So right away, that probably put most of the people in maybe the middle high economic state, just
Okay.
because they could, you know,
Mm-hmm.
afford to go out of state. Because our freshman year, you didn't get a scholarship in 1976. You had to make the team, and then they distributed your scholarship after that. So
Okay.
um, you kind of had to kind of prove yourself before that. Now, by the time I finished in 1980, they were offering um, full ride scholarships, but when we all came in as freshmen, um, you know, we didn't have that right away. So I would say that the majority of our team was probably middle to upper economic,
Okay. What would you
but
say the?
we were probably
Oh, what would you
close
say?
to 90%
Okay.
out of state. So,
All right. What would you say that like the cost of the equipment is back then too? Was it a lot more expensive than other sports or?
um, boy, that's a good question. We were we were funded. You know, we were a women's sport, probably considered minor. Women's sport. Major sports would be basketball,
Mm-hmm.
volleyball, softball. Um, so you know, we ran on a budget that I'm sure didn't consist of a lot of things. Like we didn't get free shoes or free cleats, warm ups, anything like that. I mean,
Okay.
that didn't come until probably after the 80s as well.
Mm-hmm.
Um, we we were I think we had our we they supplied maybe our field hockey sticks, any like our shin guards, that kind of equipment. Um, we all got taped up every day. We didn't have to worry about any of that stuff. But as
Mm-hmm.
far as outfitting us in full gear, travel gear, uh, that didn't happen. So
Mm-hmm.
our budget was probably pretty small. We traveled in station wagons, and seniors were the drivers and the assistant coaches, um, and so that kept the cost down. We took university station wagons
Okay.
and would have six in a station wagon. We'd take three or four station wagons across town, or across state, or when we went to play Indiana or
Mm-hmm.
things like that. So our budget was pretty small.
Okay. And like for high school, also that was like the budget there. Did you have to buy your own equipment and like that was a lot of money just to get your own type of your own sticks, your own balls, your own bags and stuff like that?
Yeah. High school, yeah, there was even less.
Mm.
Um, we they bought our uniforms, but that was about it. Field hockey, that we didn't. Um, we didn't necessarily have a different uniform than anybody else. But when I played basketball, there was in high school, there were times that we, as a varsity girls sport, we might have the JV boys uniforms left over from 2 years ago.
Oh,
So
geez.
uh, they it was really like a hand me down
Mhm.
process where the boys varsity basketball team would get the newest uniforms, then JV,
Mhm.
then after JV was done with them, maybe the girls varsity team would get it, and the poor JV basketball girls team might get the leftover freshman uniforms or something. I mean, there was kind of
Yeah.
like a hierarchy, and
Mhm.
the girls were definitely second tier
Yeah.
um, back then
Okay.
in high school.
All right, and then also just getting back to the Title IX. So when you were in at Michigan State, was there any kind of conflicts or like I don't know, was there any kind of situations where Title IX was inflicted on at MSU during the time that you were there, like conflicts or something like that?
Well, there wasn't really conflicts, but between 1976 and 1980, um, you know, like I said, we went from 1976 to buying everything, and in 1980, Title IX was pretty much passed. Um, then we were starting to get similar budgets to the boys' minor sports anyway,
Okay.
and where they would buy warm ups for us. And I think my senior year, I do remember getting like um, Adidas issued cleats,
Okay.
and our travel. We flew, I think, the first time to University of Wisconsin. So you could kind of see the change from 76 to 1980, that it was just starting. And then, of course, the next 20 years really started to equal things out. But as far as a conflict goes,
Mm.
I don't know that we really felt like we had to protest or anything.
Mm-hmm.
Title IX was really kind of doing that for us, and then we just reaped the rewards.
All right. So what are your thoughts about? Do you think that it helped more of making sports and at the collegiate level more gender equality or equal, or would you say that it kind of did the opposite in your own personal opinion?
In my opinion, I think when Title IX started, I think it started to even the playing field. I think now, it's been in existence now for 40 some years, and now I've kind of seen um, it kind of working opposite for the guys,
Mm-hmm.
because if there's a if there's a sport that there's um, interested with for the boys, if there's not an exact equal team for the girls, a boys team might get cut
Mm-hmm.
on,
Yeah.
only on the sheer numbers, and I don't personally think that that is right.
Mm-hmm.
So I think I think that's changed. I think Title IX did what it needed to do,
So
but
what would you say to those that say Title IX kind of hurts females in the sense how like it widens the gap of gender equality by feminizing sports instead of making them more equal?
I I don't really agree with that. I think that I guess I've seen it come from nothing to where we had to fight for cleats, where these guys are
Mm-hmm.
um, getting treated. And again, I'm just looking kind of on the outside because I'm not
Mm-hmm.
right in their locker room. But from my standpoint, I don't think that they've necessarily feminized it. I think they're getting um, equal coverage, equal finances, equal equipment,
Mm-hmm.
equal um, clothing. I think that that's I think that's a good thing.
Yeah.
I don't see it as a negative, but again, that's just my
Yeah, and
opinion.
then other people kind of say how, like, in the Baylor situation, how it created some kind of negligence towards situations that were as serious as like sexual conduct and stuff like that, and how it it kind of really widened or created this problem, in by itself. So like, that's kind of a negative that they would always say too, and just looking back at when it was first created to now,
Hmm.
um, but so how involved and connected was the field hockey team with other sports programs, regardless of Title IX? Just how were like the connections between the field hockey team and the women's soccer team, or the field hockey team and the football team? Just what were the kind of connections there?
Yeah, it was. I my experience has been like we were there. There wasn't a really the budgets were so small back then, so everybody used everything. So
Mm-hmm.
like I I got my ankles taped in Jenison Fieldhouse with Magic Johnson. I mean, it was the guys on the basketball team, the guys on the football team. I mean, if we needed taped, we just
Mm-hmm.
went in and got it taped. I mean, it wasn't like
Mm-hmm.
so the sports were really pretty connected.
There was no like disparity between the two, like with feeling empowered over another program type of situation.
You know, there was inequality with the budgets and stuff, and
Mm-hmm.
what the certain teams got the mate, but you know I think back then we had kind of realization that field hockey was bringing in, as far as spectators, I would say probably less than 20 people
Mm-hmm.
a game.
Yeah.
So I mean, if you're bringing in $40 a game,
Mm-hmm.
and football's bringing in 400,000, um, you know, then that was kind of how we just kind of internalized it. We didn't really see it as we needed to be equal if
Mm-hmm.
we weren't really bringing the university equal.
Okay. So would you say that the university a, did more of a job, more of an effort to separate the, sports rather than, combine them budget wise, social wise? They did had a more important role in separating and making it more unequal budget, wise compared to social reactions between you guys. Like, so when you interacted with the basketball team, like you said, you got your legs taped next to Magic Johnson. So like, he didn't treat you any differently because you're playing for field hockey and they only reel in $40 a game type of situation.
Right,
Yeah,
right. But I think that we all were just happy to play.
yeah,
I mean, that was kind of the mentality. We didn't really think of it, but that's not how we really grew up in high school, where
mm-hmm.
high school kids now are looking at the dollar signs attached to sports. We never, you know, it was just different.
Mm-hmm.
I
Definitely.
don't think that, yeah, socially, I don't think, you know, it didn't matter if, you were a volleyball player or you were the star basketball player, or the,
Mm-hmm.
Kirk Gibson playing two sports in football and baseball. I mean, you know, I
Mm-hmm.
knew him. It wasn't like you couldn't approach anybody, or
Mm-hmm.
you felt like, oh, that's the football guy, I can't talk to him because he's on the football team.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, everybody was just
Just
I don't mean just an athlete, but we were all Michigan State
it was
athletes.
like
I
a
think we all felt
family-oriented
that.
community type of thing.
Hmm.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you so much. That was about it. Yep.